Under the fury of an unrelenting storm, a homeless and hopeless street boy named Liam stumbles upon an elderly man lying on the cold, rain-soaked ground. The man is unconscious, seemingly on the brink of his last breath. Moved by a compassion that defies his own struggle for survival, Liam, with trembling hands and a racing heart, risks everything to save this stranger. Just as the old man takes what appears to be his final breath, Liam finds himself on the edge of a secret so deep that it promises to change his life forever. The rain poured down furiously that night, as if the sky was unleashing all its wrath upon the city. Liam, a 13-year-old boy, huddled under the awning of a building, trying in vain to shield himself from the biting cold. His clothes, already worn with age, were soaked, and the chill cut through to his bones. He closed his eyes, attempting to ignore the hunger gnawing at his insides when a sharp, desperate scream shattered the silence of the night. Liam jumped up abruptly, his heart racing. The scream echoed from a nearby alley, a place he knew to be dangerous, especially at night. Every instinct told him to stay away, to avoid trouble. But the suffocating desperation in that voice made him hesitate. Against his better judgment, an invisible force pushed him toward the sound. With cautious steps, Liam entered the dark alley, where shadows seemed to swallow every trace of light. There, lying on the drenched ground, was an old man groaning in pain, clutching his leg tightly. The fear and distrust of someone who had grown up on the streets clashed with Liam's urge to help. He hesitated, but only for a moment. Something stronger than fear drove him forward, unaware that he was about to cross paths with a fate that would change everything forever. "Sir, are you okay?" Liam asked, his voice coming out weaker than he intended. The man lifted his head, his eyes wide with pain and fear. I fell. I think I broke something," he replied, his voice faltering. Liam moved closer, ignoring the instinct screaming at him to run. "Hold on, I'll help you," he said, kneeling beside the man, his fingers trembling as he tried to assess the injury. "What's your name?" he asked. "Daniel," the man responded, squeezing his eyes shut in agony. "Daniel Smith." Liam glanced around, panic beginning to set in. The streets were empty, and he had no way to call for help. I need to find someone to help," Liam said, starting to stand up. But before he could take a step, Daniel grabbed his wrist with surprising strength. "Please don't leave me here." "I can't be alone," Daniel pleaded, his eyes locking onto Liam's with a desperation the boy had never seen before. Liam swallowed hard. What could he do? He was just a boy with no one in the world, and now he had a grown man depending on him. But the urgency in Daniel's eyes was undeniable. "All right, I'll stay," Liam said, sitting back down beside Daniel, feeling the cold and fear tighten around his chest. The rain continued to pour mercilessly as Liam tried to think of a solution. "I don't have any way to call anyone," Liam said, his voice barely a whisper. Daniel let out a tired sigh. My phone, it's in my pocket," he murmured weakly, gesturing toward his coat. With trembling hands, Liam fumbled through the wet fabric of Daniel's jacket until he found the phone. He dialed emergency services, his voice tense as he explained the situation. "We're in an alley near Main Street. A man is injured. He needs urgent help." As they waited for the ambulance to arrive, Liam felt a strange sensation, that somehow his life was about to change forever. The cold wind whipped across Liam's face as he stood by Daniel, feeling the rain trickle down the back of his neck. His eyes stayed fixed on the entrance to the alley, anxiously hoping to see the ambulance lights. Daniel groaned beside him, his face pale and contorted, and Liam felt a weight on his chest, as if he were carrying a burden that wasn't his own. "Please don't leave me," Daniel murmured, his voice thick with fear and pain. "I'm here," Liam replied, trying to keep his voice steady. He didn't know what else to say, but he knew he couldn't abandon this man. The minutes dragged on, and Liam's anxiety grew with each passing second. He knew the streets were treacherous at night, anyone passing by could see them as easy targets. But the thought of leaving Daniel there alone and defenseless was something he simply couldn't bear. Finally, the distant sound of a siren brought Liam a temporary sense of relief. "They're coming," he said, trying to reassure Daniel, who only nodded, too exhausted to respond. The ambulance pulled up at the mouth of the alley, and two paramedics rushed toward them, pushing a stretcher. "What do we have here?" one of the paramedics asked, kneeling beside Daniel. "He fell, and I think he broke his leg," Liam explained, his voice trembling slightly. "He couldn't move." The paramedics quickly assessed Daniel, their expression serious. "It looks like a hip fracture," one of them said. "We're going to take him to the hospital." As they lifted Daniel onto the stretcher, he cried out in pain, squeezing his eyes shut. Liam stepped back, feeling helpless. But the look of gratitude Daniel gave him before being placed in the ambulance warmed something inside him, even on that freezing night. As the paramedics were about to close the ambulance doors, Daniel grabbed one of them by the arm. "Please," he said, his voice weak, "the boy, he needs to come with me." Liam looked at Daniel, surprised, unsure of what to say. He had never been needed by anyone before, and now a man he barely knew was asking for his company at the hospital. The paramedic hesitated for a moment, then looked at Liam. "Do you want to go with him?" Liam looked at the dark alley and then back at Daniel, who was watching him with a hopeful gaze. "Yes, I will," he replied, making his decision. The paramedics helped Liam into the ambulance, and he sat next to Daniel as the doors closed and the vehicle took off. Daniel reached out, and Liam, hesitant, took his hand. "Thank you," Daniel said with difficulty. "I couldn't have done it without you." The ambulance moved through the dark, wet streets, swaying slightly with each turn. In the silence, broken only by the distant sound of the siren, Liam and Daniel sat side by side. The boy, still confused by the events of the past hours, held Daniel's hand, feeling the old man's heavy breathing beside him. "You must be scared," Daniel said, his voice weak but filled with compassion. Liam looked at him, surprised by the question. No one had ever cared how he felt, let alone a stranger he had just met. "I'm more worried about you," Liam replied, glancing away at the city lights flashing quickly by the ambulance windows. Daniel smiled faintly, a tired but genuine smile. "You're a strong boy, Liam. I've seen a lot in this life, but I don't see many kids with your courage." Liam shrugged, unsure how to respond. He didn't feel brave. In fact, he was terrified, but there was something about the way Daniel spoke to him that made him want to be strong, at least for that night. Months after Daniel's surgery, Liam and Daniel settled into a new routine, which transformed both of their lives. Daniel, now fully recovered, embraced his role as Liam's guardian with a deep sense of purpose, while Liam began to understand what it meant to be loved, guided, and supported. The two moved into Daniel's cozy house, which quickly became filled with the energy of new beginnings. Daniel, determined to provide Liam with a future full of opportunities, enrolled him in a nearby school. It was a major adjustment for Liam, who was used to the chaos of the streets rather than the structure of classrooms. But Daniel was there every step of the way, helping Liam with his homework, attending school meetings, and encouraging him to believe in his own potential. Liam struggled initially, feeling out of place among classmates who had always had stable lives. But he refused to let fear hold him back. With Daniel's unwavering support, Liam's grades steadily improved. He even began to make friends, finding his place among peers who admired his resilience. In addition to school, Liam found a passion for drawing. Inspired by his new life and the unexpected family he found in Daniel, he sketched scenes of hope, two birds flying together in the sky, a hand reaching out from the darkness, and a small home filled with warmth. Daniel, seeing Liam's talent, encouraged him to pursue art, arranging for him to attend local art classes. Liam's work soon gained attention, and his drawings were displayed in a community art exhibit, where they were met with praise and admiration. Meanwhile, Daniel made legal arrangements to secure Liam's future. After a series of legal procedures, Daniel was finally granted full custody of Liam, marking a milestone in their journey. The courtroom was filled with tears of joy as the judge recognized the bond they had built, officially acknowledging them as father and son. As they left the courthouse that day, Daniel hugged Liam tightly, whispering, "You'll never be alone again, my son." The years passed swiftly, filled with laughter, growth, and the comforting rhythm of everyday life. Daniel and Liam celebrated birthdays, holidays, and all the little victories that made their bond stronger. Liam eventually graduated high school with honors, surprising even himself with how far he had come. Daniel, always by his side, beamed with pride as he watched the boy he once found in a storm transform into a confident young man with dreams and ambitions. As Liam prepared to leave for college, a goal he never thought possible, he and Daniel stood together in front of the drawing he had created years before, two birds flying together, free and unburdened by their pasts. Liam turned to Daniel, his voice filled with gratitude. "Thank you for everything, Dad. You saved me, not just from the storm that night, but from a life without hope." Daniel, tears in his eyes, replied, "No, Liam. You saved me too. You gave me a reason to live again. With a hug that spoke of their shared struggles and triumphs, they knew that no matter where life would lead them, they would always have each other. Daniel and Liam had built a true family, a bond born not of blood, but of love, compassion, and the courage to give one another a second chance at happiness. After Daniel's successful surgery and recovery in the hospital, the bond between him and Liam grew even stronger. Daniel, now able to walk again, took Liam to his home, which was warm and inviting, a stark contrast to the cold streets Liam was accustomed to. The once empty house was soon filled with laughter, warmth, and the spirit of family. Over time, Daniel arranged for Liam to attend school, ensuring he received a proper education. Daniel also sought legal guardianship of Liam, fighting to give him a stable life. After a series of court hearings, Daniel was granted full custody of Liam, and they officially became a family. Years passed, and Liam blossomed into a young man with dreams and aspirations. He excelled in school, made friends, and started planning for college. Daniel, once a lonely man, found renewed purpose in raising Liam and sharing his wisdom and experiences. The two found a profound love and trust in each other, proving that the most unlikely bonds can create the strongest families. This story teaches us the power of compassion, courage, and second chances. Despite Liam's tough life on the streets, he didn't let it define his kindness. It reminds us that helping others, even when we have little ourselves, can lead to unexpected blessings. It also highlights that family is not just about blood relations, but about people who choose to stand by each other when it matters most.